oh, this weird bruise on my arm? Don't worry about it. Yeah, I know it's got like a weird symbol in it, but nobody else is concerned, and I'm really not concerned about it. I'm just so tired, so I think I'm just gonna go sleep it off, and everything will be totally fine when I get up. I'm definitely not gonna turn into Satan or anything. Welcome back to 31 Days of Halloween. Today we are going to be talking about a movie that is done by one of my favorite directors, John Carpenter, as well as what many people consider to be a classic, or at least like a cult favorite, a fan favorite, and that is called The Prince of Darkness. I knew nothing about this movie when I went into it. I actually at one point thought it was about vampires, and one of my friends who's seen the movie before was like, "Nah, it's not about vampires, but it's like super weird." And I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I don't want to like spoil anything. So I didn't even read the back of the case. All I looked at was the front, and it talks about the front says something about I think the devil or something like that. The tagline on the bottom, I forget what it says now. But I went into this figuring, okay, like we're gonna have some sort of religious theme with the devil and stuff, because then when it opens, it's a priest who dies holding this box that apparently has a key, and John Carpenter brings in Donald Pleasance, um, who is amazing as usual. And he takes this key and he somehow finds a door in this old rundown church that leads to a basement. And in this basement, he finds all these religious artifacts, with these books that he can't translate, and a giant tube, I guess, with all this green, like, mist or something spinning in it. The first thing I thought of when I saw it was, oh, that looks kind of like something Zordon would be in from the Power Rangers. Unfortunately, the thing that was in there was not a nice, benevolent face like Zordon. Um, what they quickly figure out in the movie is that it is something holding an evil spirit, potentially Satan, and this um, what is the religious sect? It's the something of sleep, the religion of sleep or something like that. Has been basically keeping this container sealed for thousands of years, in order to keep Satan from being released back into the world. Um, and obviously, when you have something like this, weird stuff starts to happen. The characters all feel uneasy. You have your one character who's like, "This is ridiculous. How could anyone believe this? I don't understand what you guys are talking about. Stop being crazy." And then you have your other characters who are really genuinely freaked out. And then you have Donald Pleasance running around with David Wong, who plays Dr. Burke, who is like a theoretical physicist, and he's trying. It's you basically have like your almost typical clash between religion, which is Donald Pleasance, versus David Wong, who's like strict science. And at one point, you actually even have a pretty interesting exchange between the two of them, where Donald Pleasance is like, "Your belief in science is what allows him to get stronger and to like even exist in this world." And basically, like, if we didn't believe so much in science, then Satan wouldn't be able to propagate or have such a hold on us as he does. So this, if I had to pick a movie that I thought was going to be a letdown for me in this project, it would not have been a John Carpenter movie. Um, the Thing is one of my favorite movies, whether it's horror or whether it's just movies in general. So even knowing like that this could have been like a weird movie, I didn't think it was going to be something that I was like, oh wow, like I don't like this. I figured it would be like, oh, like I recognize John Carpenter's like signature in all of this, and while I recognize it in um, the music choices and like some of the pacing choices, I just I wasn't a fan of this movie overall. It almost felt like a Michael Crichton novel. So if you've ever read Michael Crichton, who was the inspiration for several movies that we've seen, like The 13th Warrior and Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, The Great Train Robbery, Sphere, a whole bunch of The Andromeda Strain. He writes very, very technically and very scientifically, and there's parts in his books where I'm reading it and he has like math equations, or he's explaining very, very technical aspects of science. And I read this and I'm like, I have no idea what this guy's talking about. And I'm just going to like try really hard to connect this science or this math part to what's going on that I actually understand. And that's kind of what was happening with this movie, except there wasn't much else happening to latch onto for the first pretty much hour of the movie. Dr. Burke starts off basically talking about in his class like all these theoretical physics aspects, and like that's interesting. But then we get into them talking about this tube, and they're all in this church, and they're talking about these crazy math equations, and then like tachyons and this and that, and it was almost kind of like if more had been going on in the movie aside from that during that time, it probably would have been more enjoyable to watch. But most of the time I sat there just trying to figure out what the heck was happening. So I was a bit disappointed in this movie. So Prince of Darkness does not get great reviews on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. So on IMDb it's like a 6.6 or 8. 6.7, something like that. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave it a 58, and general viewership gives it a 60. So it's kind of solidly middle of the pack in those sort of ratings. I would give it a 3. Mostly because I liked the way it ended. I thought that was kind of neat. And there's another part of it that was kind of neat that I'm not going to talk about because it's a little spoilery. And tied into the end, so I'll wait till we get to the spoiler section for that. I would give this movie a 3, only because I didn't really enjoy it while watching it, but I would be willing to rewatch it just to see if I could get a better understanding of it. I don't know if I'll ever get around to it. This may just stay solidly a 3. A lot of times I've watched movies, I won't even say a lot of times. Sometimes when I watch movies, I don't like it the first time around, either because, like, maybe I'm not in the mood for that kind of movie. I didn't know what I was expecting. I didn't get it the first time. It wasn't the right location or whatever. And then I'll rewatch a movie that I thought I hated, and I'll turn out to really like it for whatever reason. It just hits me right that next time, and, like, I just get it. So I'd be willing to give this a rewatch, and I think that's why I'm not giving it a 1 or a 2. I'd more likely give this a 3 or a 4, because I would be willing to rewatch it. I do understand why this maybe has a more middle of the pack score than some of John Carpenter's other movies, especially like Halloween or The Thing. So maybe it's just, it's hard to take science and religion and put them together, especially if you're going to get into the more, I guess, higher thinking sort of aspects of science and religion. His practical effects hold up really well. There's not too much CGI in this from what I can remember or think about. Very little. I love John Carpenter's use of practical special effects because those will hold up, as I've said before when I've talked about The Thing, forever, as long as they're done well. Some of them were a little kind of like, Like there's scenes where water is supposed to be dripping to the ceiling, and I mean, if you look at it hard enough, you can tell, oh, okay, like this is done in reverse, or like this is just the frame flipped upside down. But it does look pretty cool if you're not going to sit there and look too deeply in it and like you're just going to like enjoy the movie. My problem was I wasn't necessarily enjoying the movie during those parts, so I was kind of looking for other things to distract myself, and one of those happened to be, oh, why is the water dripping funny like that? Um, so that's, I'd be willing to give this movie another shot. I would recommend trying to go see it, especially if it's something that interests you. If it sounds like it might be interesting to you based on the religion and the science aspects, it is kind of a lengthy movie. Parts of it make it feel like it's long, and then parts of it make it feel like it's moving kind of fast. It's like a 2-hour movie. Might be almost 2 hours. I don't think it quite hit the 2-hour mark, but it does feel lengthy at certain parts, especially in the beginning when it's very dialogue heavy and it's not very action heavy. The second half, maybe the second 40 minutes, or the last 40 minutes, is where you start to get a lot more action and stuff. Also, I'm not sure why Alice Cooper had to be in this movie. Other than murdering someone, he didn't really do anything other than stand there and look creepy. And every time he was on the screen, all I could think about was the song "School's Out." So that really took me out of the movie, because my brain was just like, oh look, Alice Cooper, he sings that song. Yeah. There's also a lot of bugs, so if you have an issue with bugs, just know that going in, there's bugs everywhere, like on televisions, on floors, like on people. At one point, some guy just turns into bugs. So yeah, if you have a thing with bugs, just be forewarned going into this movie. There's bugs. There's not too much gore, at least not till the end, and even that is, kind of not really gore-ish. It's just kind of, I don't know, weird, I guess. It didn't bother me. I didn't really think it was all that gory. So, like I said, I recommend it for the reasons I've said previously. Give it a shot. It is John Carpenter. It is a classic, supposedly, or a cult classic. So until next time, thanks for coming in and hanging out. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will see those of you leaving now in the next video, because we are getting into spoilers. So one of the reasons why I like this movie was primarily the ending. So during the movie, the people, whenever they go to sleep, they get these like premonitions or these messages from the future, specifically 1999, and it shows the outside of the church and what looks like this kind of scary, manly, cloaked figure like hovering in the doorway of the church, and you don't find out who it is until the very, very end. And it turns out to be, I forget what this lady's name is, but she falls into the mirror at the end of the movie with the woman who had the weird bruise, who turned out to be like the vessel for Satan, or this great evil, and she takes this person into the mirror to get them out of our world and bring them back into the netherworld, essentially. And the whole movie is leading up to this final dream sequence where it's revealed that the dark, shadowy figure isn't Satan or the evil or whatever it is. It's actually this other woman who got stuck in this other world while trying to save everybody else. So I guess it's trying to say that she is the actual evil that they have to worry about, and they never realized it because nobody stayed asleep long enough while they were trying to fight this thing to realize what was actually going on. So I guess in today's age, it would have lent itself to a sequel being made, probably with much larger special effects and explosions and car chases and, lots of people dying and doing flying, spinning back kicks, as is usually the case now. But there was never a sequel, so I guess we just kind of have to sit with that and wonder, like, okay, what's going on? And I guess when you first originally saw this in the 80s, you would sit there and wonder, when 1999 comes, do we have to worry about this rebirth of evil? Much in the same way that everybody with Back to the Future was obsessed with the year 2021. Yeah. Was it 2021 or 2019? One of the recent years, because the Cubs were supposed to win the World Series, and that's when they went when they went Back to the Future. And the Cubs almost won the World Series that year, and then they just completely let everybody down. I always said that whatever team was facing them should have just lost on the principle of keeping the continuity of Back to the Future. True, but unfortunately, baseball apparently does not like Back to the Future as much as we do. So that was part of what I liked in the movie. I also thought the whole use of mirrors is really neat. I think anytime a movie uses mirrors and uses it well, it lends itself to being really neat. Because mirrors always hold some kind of fascination for people, whether like we think we can get lost in them, or like that spirits travel through them and we have to cover them when someone dies so a spirit doesn't get stuck in a mirror. We have this fascination with mirrors, and I like that it was used in this movie to symbolize like a portal and moving between worlds and stuff like that. So that is pretty much it for Prince of Darkness. The more I talk about it, the more I think I'd like to give this movie another shot. So maybe I'll have to do like a rewatch video later down the line, and I'll let you guys know if I've changed my mind or if I still think this movie's terrible. Not terrible. I won't say terrible. Just not one of the better choices I've made through this project. And unfortunately, one of my letdowns from John Carpenter. So before I close out, I just wanted to let you guys know that I have started a Ko-fi or a coffee. So if you would like to help support me in this process, I'd like to continue to do videos for you guys. I'd like to get better recording equipment, lighting equipment, sound equipment. I have not been able to source all of these movies from the library, so I've had to either rent them or in some cases buy them, so this would help to fund that cost, and just like allow me to keep creating videos and continuing to make them better. So if you guys like what I do or love what I do, I will be like offering goodies and like, I don't want to say rewards, but just like things to give back to you guys. So I'll have the link down below if you'd like to go check it out. But thanks for coming by. Thanks for continuing to like, comment, subscribe, share. I really appreciate all of you guys coming through and listening to me ramble about these movies that I sometimes love, sometimes don't love. And I hope that you guys have found a new movie to watch yourselves. So until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Just make sure if you get any weird bruises or like symbols on your bodies that you guys go get it checked out and don't just go to sleep so that you can turn into Satan or the great evil that walks the earth. Alright, bye guys.